Jimmy, Emily, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. Obviously, very exciting time in the Metric camp as we're getting ready for a new song. The new song, All Comes Crashing. What's the story? I know you guys always have kind of a little bit of a meaning behind the song. So what's the story behind All Comes Crashing?
Well, first of all, I have to say we're so excited to talk to you. And we were just reminiscing about Halifax. And like, I think I did karaoke somewhere.
I don't think it was like karaoke. We were like, it was after a show.
I joined someone on stage.
You just got on stage and started singing. Something.
I just feel like Halifax understands me.
Yeah.
Well, my idea of a good time.
Now I need that story. We'll talk about the song in a second.
Yeah, right?
You know, like, where was this? Do you remember where the karaoke was? What song?
I remember our whole crew was out with us and we were kind of throwing it down and having a really good time.
And there was a performance happening and I just like walked up on stage and joined.
I think you sang Purple Rain.
Purple Rain, that's what it was. That's right.
There was like two guys playing acoustic guitar.
Right, your memory's amazing.
And I think I was at the bar getting drinks and I thought to myself, wow, man, whoever's singing sounds a lot like Emily. That's just weird. And then I turn around and you were on stage with the two guys singing Purple Rain. And
that's right.
That was a good time.
That was a good time.
It feels like something that could only happen in Halifax.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the way that I feel. And I just remember, I don't know if it was the end of a tour or something, but it was one of those few rare nights where the crew and the band get to go out and, you know, probably, especially in this new world that we're living in, maybe is heightening my sense of reminiscing about those kinds of luxuries. But so on to the topic at hand, you know, because as we said before this, it's like, you know, you're our first conversation and it's been quite a time for everyone. And so we're really excited and nervous and I'm extra emotional, which is kind of scary. Like my baseline emotion level is pretty peak.
Everyone kind of has this rebirth happening, right? Like and we have to learn almost how to be social beings again. So it is a nerve-wracking kind of time.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, and excitement, and also like anyone who has any sort of anxiety, social anxiety or otherwise, I think it's extra heightened too. But I've gotten better at Zoom. Here we are chatting like actual humans.
Yeah.
Avoiding the answer to the question.
That's fine. We can just talk about other stuff all day, but I'm sure they would like us to talk about
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's talk. Should we talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the song is called All Comes Crashing. And the spirit of it is just, you know, when you think about the hardest times that you go through and like who you want next to you, it's sort of in dedication to whoever that is. So for everyone, it's different. And it was interesting when we were recording it, like it was one of the songs that I walked into the studio that I had written on the piano and it's kind of already intact. A lot of times in our process, you know, I'll have one part of it and Jimmy will have the other, or he'll provide something and I'll create from that. But this kind of was walked in somewhat whole. But as we were kind of refining the lyrics, that was one of the things I wanted to make sure was preserved, is that like, it isn't only romantic love when you think of the person that you want beside you. And it might not even be a person. It could be a dog. And I don't want to, you know, spark any speculation that the song's actually about Romeo. I know there's a lot of like rumors, but it could be about someone in your family. It could be about your child. It could be about your best friend, or your husband or your wife or whatever. So just that idea of being like, so grateful for that person, whoever it would be. I told you I was extra emotional.
That's a good, we can work through emotions as well. We can cover it all.
Free therapy out of this, by the way.
Well, I have spent enough money on therapy that I feel like I am a good like armchair therapist.
Yeah, by now.
Yeah.
Definitely with no degree whatsoever.
That's how it should work, is if you get enough therapy, you then like have a license.
It would definitely inspire people to do the second, third, and fourth year of their own therapy.
That's right. It'd be like,
and then they can turn around and just start practicing it themselves.
Totally.
I just feel if anybody was like my client and then they went to a real therapist, to be like, well, that guy was nuts.
my favorite bumper sticker ever. Take my advice. I'm not using
That
it.
is a good one.
That is fantastic. I am much better at giving it than following.
We all are.
So we have the single. I can assume then that there is an album as well.
More rumors, more speculation.
You know, let's put it this way. Metric has never really been in the habit of just dropping singles. So who knows?
Okay, fair enough. I feel like if I tried to go down that road anymore, I'm not going to get any more information.
What gives you that sense? I don't know. It was just-
I don't know.
Yeah. We'll be like, no comment.
You guys, I read online, and obviously everything you read online is also subject to rumor and innuendo, but that the pandemic actually had you guys kind of separated. Half the band was in the States and half the band was in Canada. So even when we talk about the single, what was the creative process for you like? I know this one kind of came, as you said, fully formed, but if there is an album, how was the creative process for you guys working around border restrictions?
It was really difficult. I mean, and you know, as I think everyone can relate to, like just kind of somewhat dystopian and scary, because you know, we were kind of like, wow, this world is so weird. Anyway, let's get the band together and write some songs. And it's like, oh no, you can't. So that was a very strange part of the process. And Emily and I sort of both ended up north of Toronto, just sort of waiting it out before we realized that waiting it out would mean, you know, you basically try and make a whole new life, because, you know, 4 weeks turned into 12, turned into 12 months, turned into years. And so we just ended up in a very different space, and we took a bunch of instruments and we set them up in Emily's house, and we were out of our normal habitat, you know, where we had a complete studio to work in, and we had really, really limited gear, really limited space, limited people. But at the same time, we kind of had like, we were in the forest. And so it was like, while most things were limited, the sort of ability to conceive of things was like wide open, because the trees were just kind of everywhere. And there wasn't a lot of like reflective surfaces, you know, like that cities can end up being. So we ended up kind of like living more in our imagination than ever before, and just sort of creating this sort of alternate little world for ourselves. And we ended up in a totally different studio than we've ever been in before, and which is now, and in a kind of a really different way. And we're not, even now, we're not entirely sure how that sort of like assimilates back into normal life, if that even is a thing.
But we were able to get Josh and Jules up here, which was so momentous. I was actually looking through my photos and videos last night, and remember how I filmed his arrival?
Yeah,
it's like, it's so weird.
It was last May that we got, so we were basically without them for like 14 months, you know.
It's the longest we've gone without playing shows, without seeing those guys,
yeah,
like since we formed, you know, 20 years ago. It was a real
so we just kind of you know, shifted the process to make sure that we were really ready for them when they came up, and we had like a bunch of material ready to go. And they were up here for a few months last summer. They were up here for a few months last fall. And things had to be just sort of staggered and planned a little bit better than usual. That's really what it comes down to, if you take all the like crazy emotional narrative out of it.
You said you filmed the arrival. Did you have balloons and stuff? Like, was it like a 90-day fiance arrival scene?
Kind of like that, but
amazing.
yeah, it was so, it's honestly like, it's really disturbing footage, because it's like talking to the camera too, being like, he's arriving, like,
and it's also like it's like pitch black outside,
pitch black in like the middle of nowhere.
There's like, you're like lit by camera phone. It's like kind of looks like Blair Witch arrival.
Totally.
Well, as long as he wasn't just standing in the corner, then I think you're okay. But
Yeah.
No, he got out of a car and was like, "What's up with the ring light? Like, this is weird."
Yeah, modern times.
I would have been happy with that, though. That shows that you really missed them and you were looking forward to, you know what I mean? I would have.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
It's a credit to those guys too. You know, they both have families. They both were in, Josh is in New York and Jules is in California. And you know, things were really intense. And as a credit to both those guys, you know, they show up and it's like no time has passed. They're playing amazing. And we just kind of locked right back in. And as much as it was, as Jamie says, like the emotional narrative is really acute for traveling, touring musicians who are used to crossing borders, traveling, being together. It's such a different lifestyle. But aside from that emotional component, we were really fortunate. We were able to do the work, and a lot of people, you know, the first thing I think we all felt was an awareness of our good fortune despite the challenges, and understanding and grasping the scale of what people have gone through. I think it's going to take us all a long time to really process that. Jimmy, like you were saying, it's just like the PTSD that's kind of like, it's still not over. So it's not like it's not even post, it's like current.
Yeah. It's just
traumatic stress.
TSD.
TSD.
Yeah. It's a very weird kind of situation now where, like you say, it's not over, but it kind of feels like we're trying to make it over. And so it's this bizarro kind of in-between world. And I've noticed on the Twitter, lots of show announcements. Have you thought about that? Like, and you were saying your heightened emotions, like, have you thought about what it's going to be like to be back out there and maybe kicking off some rust?
For sure. I mean, we're really, really excited. I mean, we're starting sort of some real like pre-production rehearsals in the next couple of weeks, and everyone will be together playing right here. And we're really, really, really excited about it. I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking, like everything else is these days. Just kind of dealing with like what the world's going to be like, and it's really hard to think 6 months ahead, and it has been for a couple of years. So it's been, I think we've sort of programmed ourselves to like not get too excited for anything that's 6 months from now. Although this one, like, there it is. It's like we can see stuff, you know, and so we're thinking about it and trying not to get too attached to what it might be like, you know. But it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see you guys back out there and on stage. And when I was getting ready for this, I was very excited because it's the first time I've gotten to chat with you guys. I was watching some old interviews, and Emily, I saw an interview with you where you said that that you're a better singer now, a better songwriter now, a better athlete now than you were in your 20s. Is there like a song that really sticks out to you that goes, 20-year-old Emily would never have written that song?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I've been going over a bunch of the old repertoire actually, because it's just such a trip to be like, how can it be that like Old World came out in 2003, and that math is pretty wild. And I was going over, because I like to be able to still play the songs on the piano and kind of reconnect with where I was at, like Love Is a Place and Old World Underground. But yeah, that's it. I'm so bad at like on the spot questions.
Sorry.
And I think it actually gets more expressed in the way that I conduct myself than it does in the writing necessarily. But I do feel like with the singing, it's like, it's just such a weird instrument. Like, it's your body, and it's such a like mysterious process, at least for me, and maybe other singers have a different approach, but the sort of athletic component to it and the kind of like jock necessity of like having your body function properly, it's completely different from holding an instrument and having your brain work through your hands, I think. But I do feel like my voice has developed, and I have more like ability to channel the emotion a little bit better. But like, I recently was in New York for a memorial for Hal Wilner, who was a really amazing human that we lost at the beginning of COVID. He is a big SNL guy, and he's the one who introduced me to Lou Reed. And I worked with him for many years on like the T-Rex covers album. And so I'm there at this memorial 2 years after his death with all these artists. And one of the singers was Beth Orton. She opened this memorial. It was so emotional. And I spoke to her afterwards and told her, like, I was so amazed by her ability to, like, you could see that she was having all this emotion and overcome her. And then she was getting it out of her voice, but not like, it wasn't like this super emotive thing. It wasn't exaggerated. It was like controlled, but it was so much emotion. And I was completely fixated, because I feel like in my case with singing, I tend to like shut it down and everything gets close because I feel too much. So I think over time, as you develop and then just understand that it's literally lung capacity and like, you know, cardio that I've gotten better. But I was seeing her she was like one of the first people I've seen perform in 2 years. And I was really like, okay, this is a big thing, especially in the context of the loss of Hal Wilner and seeing this great artist.
Yeah, it's weird though. I definitely feel like every time we make new music, most of the process, I'm thinking this is by far the best thing we've ever done, for sure. We're getting better and better and better and better. And then when you finish it, by circumstance, I hear something that we did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago. And I'm always like, oh, that's pretty good too. Maybe we haven't gotten better. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It's so hard to measure, unlike sports, where it's like you can just time it.
You can't actually win. I mean, other than like awards, but that's what messes the whole thing up.
Yeah, you got to have your own goals, internal.
Yeah, I think it's just safe to say that the catalog is pretty good, guys. I don't think you have to worry. One more thing I kind of wanted to hit on a little bit, because a connection that I always had was kind of made. During the pandemic, a video game came out, Dying Light 2, that has Help I'm Alive in it. I always heard that as a zombie song. Like, it's about being, like, I don't know what that says about me, but and finally it was connected to zombies. And I was curious, how did that come together? Are you guys gamers, or was that just like an opportunity that came up to get kind of a song out on a game soundtrack, or what was the kind of deal?
Yeah, they came to us. We're really careful and really consider and vet stuff before we use our music for it. But so it was like, what kind of zombies, like what kind of narrative, like what kind of world is this? And then when we heard the plot, it was like, oh, this is perfect. This is not unlike you. Feeling of that you have to, you know, fortify yourself against some sort of abstract demon / zombie, which is right in line with the meaning of the song. So we were like, it's a go.
That is fantastic. Really looking forward to seeing, or I should say hearing, the entire new album, if it exists. And getting you guys back to Halifax. Hopefully that's in the cards. And I'll take you to karaoke.
Please.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it'll be on me.
You know what song we're doing? We're doing Purple Rain.
Sounds good. I will not sing because that'll wreck the entire evening, but I'll be there and buy beers.
Sounds good.